We've had some great guests already this morning, of course, talking about the history, talking about our veterans as we get set for Remembrance Day on Sunday. We actually have an author joining us now, Terrence Rundle West, and this is his book, Not in My Father's Footsteps. Very interesting information and history that I think a lot of us are unfamiliar with. A lot of it having to do with the Spanish Civil War and a variety of Canadians that took part in this. Now, this book has fictional characters, but you've been able to take them through a journey with historic information.
Exactly. I'm a bit of a history buff, and I can't stand it when I hear people say that Canadian history is not very exciting.
Pretty passionate about it.
It is amazing stuff, but we have to get beneath the surface before we unearth some of these gems that are sitting there. When I went into this book and started researching, I discovered that 1,700 Canadians had gone to Spain in 1938. 400 of them died there, never came home. They're just lying somewhere in the ground in Spain, no official marking. And so what I began to try to unearth was what would propel 1,700 Canadians to go fight in a foreign war.
Right, in that time with the country where, I mean, we're talking Spain, what drew them to Spain in the first place, or how did they get a hold of all of these young Canadian men?
Exactly, or was it a push out of Canada, or was it a pull in Spain? Well, what I unearthed was, it was kind of both. The push from Canada is all of those terrible things that are happening during the Depression. Unemployment, young men being forced to ride the rails for years and years and years, pushed from town to town, begging at back doors, lining up at soup kitchens. And so these young men are looking for solutions, political solutions. And they're experimenting with all the isms.
Now, so the book actually starts in Montreal, 1930s, with two young gentlemen.
Exactly.
And so a lot of the book happens in Montreal as to what is happening during that time. And then as they get on the rails, this is kind of the story of how it kind of went, right?
Yeah.
So Montreal to the rails to eventually landing themselves in Spain.
Exactly. So the book it's not a war book, but it's a book about two young Canadians and how they did get caught up in this war. So 1/3 of the book is in Montreal, 1/3 is riding the rails across Canada, and 1/3 of the book is actually in the Spanish Civil War. And as you said in your intro, everything in the book, every historical event in the book is a bona fide researched historical event. Only the characters are fictitious, and the major characters are fictitious. A lot of the minor characters, I left their names in so that they're real characters. So if your names like l'Abbé Gru in Montreal, or Adrien Arcan, and those people are all bona fide people. And so are some of the leading officers in the Spanish Civil War.
Do you find that there's a reaction from maybe the military here, or understanding, or the Canadian War Museum, to understand that there were this many Canadian individuals caught up in a war that we really had no relationship with?
Well, this is the disappointing thing. All of these men are dead except one. Of the 1,700 Canadians who went to Spain, there's only one left. I spent 3 days with him up in Sudbury. He was in his 90s, but he was still driving. That's the kind of man he was. Mm-hmm. But I discovered that there is not one mention of these men and their sacrifice in the Canadian National War Museum. It's as if they never existed. They just disappeared. And these are the men who went to Spain to fight fascism. I mean, they fought Hitler and Mussolini in Spain 2 years before the war broke out.
When you're looking at the dates, you get a better feel as to exactly what it was that they were dealing with. The book is called Not in My Father's Footsteps, available in a variety of bookstores.
Yes,
anywhere you go,
yes,
you can pick it up. And great to have author Terrence Rundle West joining us.
And it's a wonderful Christmas gift.
There, consider that as well. I know a lot, especially
early,
for history buffs and for those that love to follow what's happened here within our Canadian military and our relationships on a political scale. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erin.